Hey, my name is Alea, and in this video, we're going to kind of introduce you to the field of microbiology. So, microbiology is obviously the study of microbes, and it seems like it's a pretty new field, but actually, it's quite an ancient field of biology because we have, throughout the history of the human kind of species, we've all kind of known that microbes exist, even though we couldn't see them. For example, when we're making beer or bread, we use yeast. And so we've all kind of known that yeast exists. Or the fact that in ancient history we had, like a sewage system and we knew to, stay sanitary. And we also knew that diseases could spread, but we couldn't see these microbes. So back, throughout history, we've always known that microbes exist. And then, of course, we invented the microscope, so now we can physically see them and study them. So microbiology is a really cool field. And it has a really long history, right? And I don't really like history, so we're not going to go through this too much. But Pasteur was obviously one really important guy. He discovered that certain microbes can perform fermentation. He was also the one who invented pasteurization, which is how we treat milk and other food products so that we can kill off most of the microbes so that we don't get sick. So that was cool. Coach or Koch was a microbiologist who was really good at figuring out which microbes caused specific diseases. So that was cool. And then Haeckel and Whitaker, they were the main guys who dealt with kind of organizing the microbes. Where did they fall in the tree of life? And as you can see here, back in the day, we just thought there were plants and animals. But obviously, after, the invention of the microscope and being able to see these microbes, we knew that they existed. And so they kind of tried to add them into the tree of life. These are, by the way, super ancient trees of life. This is not how the tree of life looks anymore. But yeah. Today we group microbes a little bit differently. As you can see, the tree of life is a lot more complex. But in the tree of life, we group it in three domains. So domains are like the biggest groupings in the tree of life. And so the domains are shown in different colors here. We've got the bacteria, we've got the archaea, and the eukarya. We are here, by the way, we're part of the animals, the animalia, which are in the eukarya. Now, microbes happen to be found in all three domains. So bacteria, the entire domain of bacteria are microbes. The entire domain of archaea are microbes. And a majority of the eukarya are actually microbes. So all of these branches here, diplomonads, flagellates, entamoeba, even the slime molds, ciliates, basically everyone here are still considered microbes. They're just eukaryotic microbes. But basically, if you think about it, like 90% or more of the tree of life are microbes. So microbiology really covers a huge chunk of the tree of life. Microbes, by the way, are going to be named using the traditional binomial nomenclature, which is the genus species, where the genus and the species are italics and the genus is capitalized, but the species is not. So this is kind of like the name that we give microbes, just like your name. You have a first name and a last name. And so microbes are also given a genus and the species. Think of the genus as your last name and the species as your first name, though, because the genus is less specific and the species is more specific. So it's like your last name is like your family name, right? And then your first name is what makes you you. Now some microbes do have subspecies and strains and all that, so it does get a little bit crazy. We'll talk about that throughout this course, but this is essentially how we group microbes today. Now microbes are obviously super tiny and they're also very diverse. And so in this course of microbiology, we're going to be studying microbes that are nanometers in size. So those are going to be our viruses. They're super, super small. All the way up to millimeters in size. There are some microbes that are pretty large, or large enough that you barely could see them with the naked eye. But for the most part, we're going to be around here in the range of sizes. And microbes, again, super diverse. We're going to be talking about bacteria. That's going to be the main focus of this course. Archaea, which are the other domain of microbes. But then we'll also do a ton of the eukaryotic microbes. That includes your protists, parasitic worms, yeast, fungi, and then the viruses. And notice that I put that viruses are not part of the tree of life. So if we go back to the tree of life, they are not here. And the reason being, they are not living things, but we still study them in microbiology because one, they're microscopic, and two, they affect all living things. And so they're still part of biology, even though they themselves are not alive. So yeah, that is it for this video. Again, this was just an intro to the field of microbiology. Hopefully this was helpful, and I will see you in the next video.